What's up guys, Matthew Monas here, and I've been using the Huawei P20 Pro for 48 hours. I just got back from France. I'm excited to share my mini review with you, but by no means is this a full one. That will come in the coming weeks. I'm also going to provide you guys some context. I'm going to be comparing this to the Galaxy S9 Plus. I feel context always tells a better story than just talking about the device by itself. Now the first thing I want to talk about is the design. I really love the color scheming Huawei went with. There's blue, there's pink, there's a matte black, and there's even a brand new twilight color that changes colors depending on the light. Dimensions are also fantastic. This is a 6.1 inch device, and when you have it next to the Galaxy S9 Plus, it's not nearly as tall. It's also slightly thinner, but it's a little bit wider. Now, if I was to actually say which one's more comfortable in the hand, I'd have to give it to the P20 Pro. The more rounded edges feel more comfortable to hold, and the fact that there's no edge in general just makes it a lot easier to type on. So let's just get the elephant out of the room right away. There's a notch on this device, and you guys absolutely know how I feel about notches. I don't like them. But there is hope. Huawei has introduced a feature that allows you to disable the notch. I think it's a great idea. Android 8.0 is just not optimized to handle notches. If the application itself hasn't been optimized, things just look really off. Now here's the weird thing. This is a glass device. The back is made out of glass. And usually when you put glass on a smartphone, you usually incorporate wireless charging. It's all on the big flagship devices, so I don't understand why it's not on the P20 Pro. In fact, it wasn't even on the Mate 10 Pro. The only way to get wireless charging on a high-end flagship device from Huawei is to buy the Porsche Mate RS. There's no headphone jack on it, which Huawei took away last year, so kind of expected, but you'll notice how perfectly symmetrical this device is. When you compare it to the iPhone 10, when you compare it to the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, the ports line up a lot better. I mean, if you look at the back of the S9 Plus, the ports are not centered. The headphone jack is a little bit too far one way, the USB Type-C connector is also too far one way, and the speakers are not lined up. Now this is not a big deal. This is not going to stop you from buying the phone. I'm only mentioning this is because it shows how much more detail Huawei's putting into their design process. Another interesting point is the fact that there's no more fingerprint scanner on the back of the device. Huawei took it and put it on the front. It's there, it's comfortable, you can use it to take you home, and it's also really flush with the screen, so you kind of don't feel a bump or an intrusion in it. But if you don't like using a fingerprint scanner, there's also Face Unlock. I don't think it's nearly as secure as the one on the iPhone 10, but my God, is it ever fast. I did a comparison in my live stream a few days ago, comparing it to the S9 Plus, and it completely smokes it out of the water. Stereo speakers are still there, right in the earpiece and the bottom of the phone. Now, it's not as good as the S9 Plus or iPhone 10 in terms of sound quality, but still much better than having a mono speaker in general. The display is 6.1 inches, it's OLED, and has a resolution of 2280 by 1080, so it's not quite QHD, but it's FHD+. It looks fine. It's not the best display for an AMOLED panel, and it's probably using one of Samsung's inferior ones. It's definitely better than the one on the Pixel 2 XL, but obviously not as good as the one on the Galaxy S9 Plus. When you compare them both, you can see how much brighter, how much more vivid, how much deeper the blacks are on the Galaxy device. But overall, it's still a very good display. The biggest feature of this device is obviously the camera. This thing has a 40 megapixel sensor on it that takes great photos. There's a 20 megapixel monochrome sensor, so it shoots black and white. And when you pair it with that big 40 megapixel RGB sensor, you get some great results. But also, there's a telephoto lens, and that telephoto lens goes up to 3 times zoom. That's one more than the Galaxy S9 and iPhone 10. Now, I don't know if this is the best camera on the market. I haven't done a full comparison yet, but I'm going to. But what I do know is nighttime photography is hands down the best on this device. Some of the night shots I took look absolutely insane. I've never seen this good of quality on a smartphone before. But Huawei does apply a lot of image processing on their photos, just like other manufacturers. They really do bump up the contrast and the vibrancy of the photos. And because it's using artificial intelligence, it's able to detect what you're taking a picture of. For example, we took a picture of a blue sky. The phone detected it and completely cranked up the blues in the photo. It looked good on the screen, but once we brought it into post, it was just way too oversaturated. The next thing was video. In 1080p, there's optical image stabilization, electrical image stabilization, and a new thing called artificial intelligence image stabilization. This is Huawei's new technology. They're providing 3 ways to stabilize the footage. In 1080p, when walking down the street, it looked absolutely awesome. Definitely comparable to the Pixel 2. But when you bumped it up to 4K, one of those image stabilization processes were completely removed. In terms of software, it's running Android 8.1, which is above the Galaxy S9, and I'm just hoping that Huawei updates their phones a little bit quicker in the future. I mean, everything is what you'd expect. It's using MUI 8.1, so if you've used the version from last year, it looks a lot like the iPhone 10, bigger boxy icons. You have to enable the app drawer, but you do get Google Assistant when you swipe to the right. Battery life is absolutely nuts with this phone. 4,000 milliamps. I'm easily getting 6 hours of screen on time. In comparison with the Galaxy S9 Plus, I'm only getting about 4. I have 0 issues of battery anxiety. I don't have to worry about my phone needing to be topped up throughout the day. I can make it from 5 a.m. in the morning to midnight and still have about 20 to 30% battery life left. So here are my closing thoughts. The Huawei P20 Pro has fantastic performance. The Kirin 970 may not benchmark as high as the Snapdragon 845, but in day-to-day use, it runs much better than the Galaxy S9 Plus. I do love this camera. This camera is amazing and has the possibility of being one of the better cameras of 2018, but more testing has to be done. I do like the design. I do like the fact that I can disable the notch. I do wish the dual speakers were slightly a little bit better. I do wish there was wireless charging, and the software is either hit or miss. You either love it or hate it, but it's definitely no stock Android. So stay tuned for my full review. Subscribe so you can be one of the first people to see it. Let me know what you guys think of this phone in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already.